Hi, welcome to my channel, Mrs. Sippy, the wife, not the state. My name is Christy, and on my channel I just talk about my life as a wife, a new mom, and as a creative person. But today we're going to talk about my experience giving birth during a pandemic. Okay, this brought a lot of anxiety to me, knowing that my due date was April 8th. I ended up giving birth April 9, and there was just, mass panic about the new coronavirus. So here is my experience. I wanted to share this to any moms out there who are pregnant and they're worried about just the health of their baby, the health of themselves during this scary time. And I'm hoping that my account and my testimony can maybe put you at ease knowing what to expect when you go to the hospital. I'm going to talk about 3 things. So I'm going to talk about the different rules at the hospital. I'm going to talk about number 2, interactions with the healthcare workers regarding the coronavirus. And number 3, how I managed my anxiety while we stayed at the hospital for 2 days. So let's talk about number 1, the different rules that I noticed when we went to the hospital. And I was at a Chicago suburb hospital. It's called Advocate Good Samaritan in Downers Grove. And off the bat, you have to go to the general entrance. There's only one entrance that everyone has to come in if you're not going to the ER. They will first screen you for the coronavirus. They take your temperature through the forehead, and they require driver's license and ID. They also make you answer a questionnaire regarding if you have experienced symptoms of the coronavirus, such as a cough, shortness of breath, etc. And then if you pass, they're supposed to give you a bracelet saying you're free of the Rona, and they should also give you a mask. But actually, they forgot to give us a mask, and I didn't know we needed one. So off the bat, you're only allowed one companion. So for me, that was my husband. Unfortunately, my plan was to have my sister be my second labor coach, but they don't allow any visitors other than your one companion. So luckily they allowed my husband. I know that in some hospitals, especially in New York, they couldn't even allow a mother to have one companion. That just sounds so lonely. But I was very blessed to have my husband there. We were very scared that wouldn't be the case. And at the hospital, the other rule is that you're supposed to always wear a mask at all times, except when you are in your room alone with just your baby or your husband, your one companion. That means you also have to wear a mask while you're giving birth. So I like through the whole pushing process. That was a bit difficult, but if you're nervous about it, you could practice at home. Just wear a mask and you take your deep pushing breaths. You go like, hold that Valsalva, and then you push down through your whatever muscles around the rectal area, vaginal area, and then you exhale. So just the hard part was getting that deep breath, because you kind of felt like you're sucking in the mask in your mouth. So I kind of cheated because it was so difficult. I kind of put my mask from here to here so I can get easier breath. So I did cheat a little bit, but that was just for the sake of surviving through the whole labor process. Another rule was that you couldn't walk with your baby outside the hall, or your husband. Usually they allow you to take walks back and forth in the hallway, but they really made you contain into your room, which I think that was a great idea. And another rule that we noticed was they were trying to really go as paperless as possible, because the handoff of pens to sign documents, handing off of paper, they were really limiting that so that the catching of the coronavirus is, limited. So there were a lot of verbal agreements instead of signatures regarding signing papers such as the birth certificate, hepatitis B confirmation shot, other documents for the baby. So those are all verbal agreements, which was interesting, but also pretty smart. So let's talk about number 2, about the interactions with healthcare workers that I experienced while at the hospital. So a lot of people were hyper stressed at the hospital, and you can kind of feel the tension in the air. For example, when we entered the labor and delivery floor, you had to go through the secretary, and when we first entered, she was very angry at us that we weren't wearing a mask, but it wasn't our fault because the people who let us in didn't give us a mask and we didn't know. So she was like, "Why aren't you wearing a mask? Who let you through here? What are you doing here? What is your name?" And she was very harsh with us, and it kind of seemed like she was mad at us, but really she just seemed very frustrated. She even said, they're just changing the rules and the protocols of the hospital every day regarding this coronavirus. It's hard to grasp your head around. So it sounds like they're dealing with a lot. So you just had to be patient with them. So another one was, another interaction with healthcare workers is they all kept like apologizing about wearing a mask. So for example, my OB-GYN was wearing the face shield and a mask, and also the nurses while we were giving birth, and they said, "Sorry for looking like an astronaut," or "Sorry, you always have to put your mask on." But, you know, it really was okay. They didn't have to apologize because it was for the safety of the mothers and the babies, so I understood. And there was one really, really weird interaction that I had with one of the PCTs, the patient care techs. She was so strange. She said to us, "So what do you guys think of all this coronavirus stuff?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it's something to be taken pretty serious." And she said, "Oh, I think it's fake news. They're just over-exaggerating the amount of deaths." And in my head, I didn't verbally go against her. I was very tired. But she just kept saying, "Oh, it's fake news. They're over doing it with all these protocols. People are freaking out for no reason." And then she proceeds to pick up my lotion. Pretend this is lotion. Okay, pretend this is lotion. And she's like, "Oh, what is this? Bath and Body Works?" She just picks it up, removes her mask, opens up my lotion, smells it with all her germs. Who knows if she has the Rona? And then she puts it back down. "Oh, that's a good smell." And then she left. So that was so strange. My husband immediately took the lotion and he just threw it in the trash because he's like, "Wow, that was a crazy person. Who knows what germs she has?" So he just threw the lotion. We were hyper vigilant. Now the last point, number 3, that I wanted to talk about was how I personally manage my anxiety while at the hospital. It did give me a lot of stress, you know, just knowing that we had to give birth during such a unprecedented time, where this virus, we still don't know much about it, and there isn't a vaccine out. So how I managed my anxiety while at the hospital, I just had to put full trust in the hospital system. If I didn't trust the hospital system and its cleanliness, I would have just gone crazy. The only thing I could focus on was taking care of my new baby, making sure that I had a healthy delivery. That's all that I had the energy to provide. So I just had to trust in the cleanliness of the hospital. Basically, the people making our food, I just had to trust they're wearing gloves and a mask. People cleaning our room, I just had to trust they wiped down all the surfaces. And people who had to clean our sheets, I just had to trust that they are cleaning them properly. So that's the way that I managed it. I just had to let go and I guess to like God and trust that God put us in a good situation. Also, Another thing that really helped me lower my anxiety was prayer throughout this process while we were at the hospital. My husband and I, we prayed the rosary. We prayed the rosary. We also tried to dedicate each contraction, each painful contraction to like the health of my family, the health of my baby, that we are free of the virus. So it's kind of like a redemptive suffering prayer. And then, of course, when we came out of the hospital, I continued to manage my anxiety and stress by seeing my therapist. I usually see her weekly, but for the first week after my hospital stay, I saw her twice to really help manage my stress. So that was my experience giving birth during a pandemic. I hope that my experience can, just put you at ease knowing what to expect. And hopefully my ways to cope with anxiety, maybe you can also implement that too as well if you are also giving birth during this crazy time, or just in general. Alright, thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you guys again.